In part 1, Christian deception, Arul and Shabir, their debate, he's talking about some verses in the Quran where Allah allows people to expiate their oaths. So again, Arul is not understanding. He said God allows them to lawfully. The thing is, what does the law have to do with people expiating their oaths? Making an oath and breaking an oath, in my view, have nothing to do with Sharia or the law. An oath is not a contract. So Shabir should say that. I'm not sure I'm going to continue watching the video, but I just wanted to make this to let people understand that Arul obviously doesn't understand the difference between an oath and a contract. Contract is legal. It's a legal document. It's legally binding. There can be repercussions for, breaking a contract, material repercussions. On the other hand, breaking an oath is between the person and Allah. It has nothing to do with legal contracts. So he is trying to make it seem like God will just let you break your word anytime. So anything, any kind of agreement or treaty can be broken at any time on a whim by any Muslim. And this is just false. And we know that because also there are examples of treaties Muslims had with non-Muslims, and it is actually very, very serious to break a treaty. It would, first of all, really make Muslims look so dishonest and like bad people. Okay, non-Muslims have rights in the Islamic State, and all these legal kind of things are taken very seriously, and they have nothing to do with what Arul calls oath breaking. What's hilarious is what happens next. Arul tells a story from 2 Samuel chapter 21, some verses, and basically Joshua was deceived by some Gibeonites who are part of the Canaanites people, and he was supposed to have killed them all, but he was fooled. They told him, no, we're foreigners, we're not Canaanites, so he did not kill them. He was supposed to massacre those people, and he did not, and therefore in the time of David there is this big, and it has to do something with Saul, but anyway, there's this big famine because of the fact that a lot of people were not massacred who should have been massacred, right? So I guess Arul is going to say that, well, they didn't kill all these people, so that's why they got punished. Okay, so he's saying the God in the Bible is this God who, tells you to kill people. Forget that. We can discuss that in another debate. If how evil is that or not? But God made them do that, and since they forgot to kill some people, therefore they got punished with the famine. So that is the God of the Bible. I think they can keep their God of the Bible if that's what they think God is. I think that's nuts. Defending the Bible all the time and then crying, because I'm going to read now to you from chapter 66 in the Quran. I'll read to you what actually happened in that story in chapter 66. So let's go to 66 here. And you will see, compared to the story in 2 Samuel, this is nothing, okay? Let's just compare. He doesn't even mention what happened in chapter 66. I think he's like, is this the worst thing he could find in the Quran? Okay, Surah Tahrim. O Prophet, why do you prohibit yourself from what God has made lawful for you? So, lawful here being the honey. Honey is permissible for people to eat, so it is lawful. Talking about foods that you can eat, okay, is mentioned in the Quran, and so we know that it's lawful, honey. Why do you prohibit yourself from what God has made lawful for you, in order to attain the good pleasure of your wives? Yet God is all forgiving, mercy-giving. God has already sanctioned a way for you believers to absolve yourselves from your oaths. So what happened here is the Prophet's wives were jealous when he was eating honey with another one of his wives. So two of his wives said that they would prevent him from eating honey at the other wife's house, telling him that his breath smelled bad, and they thought maybe it was muraffar that the bees used to make the honey that made it smell, and he didn't like bad smells, so he said he would not eat that honey anymore at his wife's house. So Allah told him, you should not do that. Eat whatever is lawful, and that's it. That's the story in a nutshell. No massacring people, no breaking promises or treaties with non-Muslims and massacring people, nothing like that, nothing of the sort, just an innocent family matter. So we know in the Bible that Job, he was supposed to, he had a wife, it's in the Quran anyway. He had a wife and he wanted to keep his vow to punish her because she had disobeyed him or gone against him. So he was angry anyway, and he had a lot of trials. So anyway, at one point he vowed that he would lash his wife 100 lashes. So God said, fulfill your vow. So he hit her with a bunch of basil, something like that. Because when you make a vow that you don't really mean also is another thing. Then Allah permits that to be excused, you know. When we all die and meet our Lord, then we will be responsible for what we said and did, whether we were ever exposed for anything or not, right? So, I mean, God is not down here forcing people to keep their vows or to break their vows, but whatever happens is in the end our responsibility, right? The thing is, the first verse here is talking about lawful food, but the rest of the verses is basically telling you that what happened was he stopped eating honey that he liked because his wives were jealous, and therefore God told him, you should not do that because I have made it lawful for you. But it's not like something that the Sharia is going to force on people that here you have to eat honey because it's lawful. It's just that he stopped himself from eating the honey, that Allah told him you can't do that because he is a prophet. So he's our example, and it was a plot between two of the wives who were jealous of the other wife, and that's it. No massacring, no killing innocent people or anything like in 2 Samuel, right? Watch the video debate between Arul and Shabir, and keep this in mind. Arul so flippantly, easily just ignores, well, we can talk about this in another debate, whether it's okay or not for God to order people to massacre other people just because they're Canaanites. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Thank you. So the first video debate between Arul and Shabir was about the Quran versus the Torah, or Islam versus the Torah. And it was actually Arul who then insisted that it should only focus on Torah and versus the Quran or Sharia, and not including the New Testament. So that's what they discussed at the beginning. It was 3 weeks before the debate because Shabir was traveling. And then Arul said that Muslims, he notices they tend to hide behind the details or something. So I don't know what details they're hiding behind and what that means exactly. Anyway, the debate was set to be about Quran versus Torah. So that's what actually the debate video then that follows. Shabir says, I think he said that it should be on Torah. Apparently anyway, they agreed that was going to be the debate and keep out the New Testament. And I noticed another video. This has a little bit to do with this topic of God. Who is God in the Bible versus who is God in the Quran. I'm not going to try to defend the debate like that. I think the God that Muslims know is the same as Yahweh. I'm not going to discuss that or try to support. I believe that Islam is the religion of God that God chose for us, and from the time of Adam, just like Shabir said, Islam is from the time of Adam, but it was called something different throughout the ages, basically. Or that's what it says in other books, that, Christians call Christianity the religion of God. Jews say that Judaism is the religion of God. Hindus say that Hinduism is the religion of God. So we're saying that, that Islam is the religion of God, and it's always been the religion of God. Whether people think it was revealed through prophets in the Bible or not is the real question, right? Is God really what Muslims understand through reading Islamic sources? Okay, that is kind of what I'm more focused on than debating Christians about their own book and so on. I'm not really interested in that so much. It kind of does happen, just that you will have to address some questions that Christians or Muslims have about comparative religion and so on, but it's not like something I'm really that interested in. So I noticed a video, though, anyway, about marriage, and a Christian guy is insisting that marriage is for life and you cannot get divorced. And he's insisting on that just because that is his, like he says, you have to choose your wife right the first time and then you're stuck with her.
Well, it's a no from me, Mr. Small.
It's a no from me, too.
That's 2 no's. You're going home.
Basically, that's what he's saying. And women didn't even really have a right to choose their husbands sometimes. For example, women were inherited in Christianity in Europe. Men used to inherit their wife sometimes from somebody else, like their brother. And women were like furniture. They did not really have much say. Christians used to debate also whether women even had a soul or not. So that is the Christian history that we know about. To add on top of that, even today there are Christians who think that divorce is evil or it's against God's teachings and so on. That's really sad. And it just shows the mindset of Christians and how adamant they are that what they believe is correct and that Islam cannot be the truth because it permits divorce, or God permits people to expiate their oaths. So it must be evil and wrong. And that's the Christian position many times, but you will see. And it's just, I find it's indefensible. Say that, people should never have a right to choose to change the course of their life, that they're stuck with whatever they chose and there's no way about it. That is just cruelty, in my view. Cruelty perpetuated by the state or churches and not by God, because God never told people that they should not be happy or strive to make a future for themselves.